Mike, Bob and Steph. 3 missing, Susan, Todd, and
Yeah, Susan is sick, she sends her apologies.
Tim. But we have a quorum, so I will call the meeting to order. Any info on the treasurer's report?
Yes. She sent that. Very similar to last time. The open space account is down to 139.04 after paying your and Tim's invoices. The where's the rest? Ryder property, $4,125.32. And the Hubbardson Preservation Trust is up to $18,322.04. The latter two were the same as last month, so no changes there. And she's got the letter that you wrote for reimbursement for the materials for, I guess that's Gates
Gates and Mill Pond.
and Mill Pond. And she's just waiting for the invoices to submit those.
Okay, minutes, which I usually have first, but having it second is okay. So Rick sent the minutes around a little bit ago.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Did you decide what time the meeting adjourned?
Yeah, I added hour and 16 minutes to the starting time of 7:08.
Well, it's a choose your own ending right now.
Meeting was adjourned at 8:24. Oh, got it. That was left over from the previous, got it. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? No? And I know remotely Todd chipped in that they looked okay with him.
Yep.
So do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as edited?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second? Steph seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, so those are approved. Old business topics, Hubbardston Hikes. Tim's not here, but I got some info from him. Any feedback on anybody go to the last hike? Not that it makes any difference.
Yeah, I did.
But, and any comments on that?
Yeah, it was interesting.
And this was where, just to refresh my memory?
The part of the Mid-State Trail, and then we looped back. We went to an area that DCR had segmented off with some fencing to supposedly study whether or not there was a lot of moose
Oh.
chewing on the vegetation, and so they.
There's definitely plenty around there.
Well, what they did was they put this, I don't know how, I couldn't see the other side of it, but it was about 50 feet in diameter or square area that they had about an 8-foot fence
Wow.
on posts. And the idea with that, and it had 2.5 feet or so at the bottom, open, so the deer could get in there to munch, but the moose couldn't. So
Oh.
they wanted to supposedly compare that, and they installed that, I can't remember how long ago it was. But where it was not really near any particularly good moose areas. There wasn't any nearby water, there wasn't any kind of vegetation that they normally eat, it was just saplings and stuff. So I said, well, why did they put it here then? And they said, well, there was some politics going on at the time. And I don't remember the exact story. You'll have to, it was kind of amusing, but DCR was, they were going to do a wood cutting in that area. And the people that wanted to do the wood cutting wanted to do it in a certain area, and somehow there was some kind of trade-off there, so they had to put it there because the rest of the woods were gonna be cut. But it really wasn't It was well away from
Okay.
the river, so.
Well, I've seen lots of moose tracks up on top of that hill,
Yeah, Tim said.
in the old clear cuts.
Yeah. So we actually bushwhacked to get to that off the trail, off the Mid-State Trail. And once we were over there, we said, well, do we have to go back? It was over a stone wall through some stuff, and some of the people said, do we have to go back the same way we got in here? Tim said, well, no, we can, go out this way, because it looked like it was a little clearer and easier to travel. And it ended up hitting the trail that he had intended to take back. It was a kind of a loop, lollipop kind of thing.
The Woods Road headed down the hill.
I don't know what it's, yeah, it was a DCR road, that, they used to get in and out of that area.
Does it end at a yellow gate with a big field? Does
Yeah.
it
There's a
go
big-
by
yep, there's a
a
big-
big field that's been
Yeah.
cut and there's a few apple trees sprinkled about?
That's it.
They brought a forestry mulcher through there about 3-4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
What's that, like what we had up at Mount Jeff?
Yeah.
I
But it was
know
nice
that
hiking.
road. And
Tim did his usual, tree descriptions and stories and how old the
Yeah.
place was, and about all the trees that got blown down during the storm of 19 whatever.
38,
Yeah.
Hurricane of 38.
So you could tell the difference in the areas where that affected them. A lot of stone walls in that area, which is, so at one time, it was not, it was not
Pasture
wooded.
land of
Yeah,
some
all
sort,
pastures and
yeah.
stuff.
Okay, I did, Tim submitted with a little info on his next walk, which will be November 3rd, Sunday, November 3rd at 1:30, and that'll be over at Lackey Lane. And his little descriptions, it's 3.5 miles, moderate terrain, good footing on an old road, and we'll discover whether the spruce trees there are red, black, white, or Norway. So that was his little
What was the date on that again?
That was
November
November 3rd,
Okay.
at 1:30, and Lackey Lane is the location.
Tim and I cleared out a bunch of the blowdowns on that trail a couple weeks ago,
Oh, good.
a month ago, something.
Speaking of forest harvester type thing, there was a little section, I was over there today,
Over where?
Barry Falls Dam,
Okay.
and actually not too far, I think, from where Lackey Lane might come out. It was a section, half an acre, pretty small, but it was all either forest mulcher or brush hog. But
Oh, I noticed that they'd brought a mulcher
Oh.
down the side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, where
yeah.
all the apple trees are,
It's not far, on
left
the
of it.
right-hand side going down. There's
Yeah.
maybe half an acre, and I'm not sure why, but it was about a half acre that was all mulched.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, Lackey Lane is the old road that comes up to the side, the side of the spillway, the
Yeah.
emergency
Yeah,
spillway.
okay, yeah.
There's a gate there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was looking for Covered Bridge Road once, this is about a year ago, maybe two, but, and I took Lackey Lane down, happened to be in
On the other side of the river.
on the other side.
Yeah.
And happened to be in the wintertime, my four-wheel drive on that Tundra doesn't work, and I had a heck of a time getting out.
Yeah.
At any rate. Tim also offered he's got a potential additional walk in November, he didn't have a date on that, to explore DCR Wood Harvest area north of Old Westminster Road. That's the thing I forwarded around to everybody.
High Bridge Road area.
Yeah. That Chris Monroe sent around trying to advertise, because the last, he's had a few situations where it wasn't publicized enough and people got mad or something, so he wanted to know if there's a better way to publicize it. So that's it on the Hubbardston Hikes. On the invoices, I got the check for Walt Lawrence, and so I'll get him his check. I haven't done that yet, but I'll get that to him before our next meeting. Land Priority Group, that's moving along nicely.
I've been, just to interrupt for a moment, just for your information, I've been watching the email traffic go by on Ware River Trails Group.
Okay.
And they've got a pile of checks together for you for the
Oh, yeah,
machine
yeah,
time
yeah,
on that
yeah, Brett.
trail project.
Yeah, the bike guys, so you would think Nemba would have a fairly significant account, so, and it was only $300, cause we took the machine over there and worked for a few hours or whatnot, and we paid quite a bit of money, so I was just trying to get some money to pay back for that thing, and he knew ahead of time, and it was actually gonna be quite a bit more. We got out there, I took a walk, with, who's the watershed, guy,
Dan
lead
Clark.
guy, or Dan Clark, thank you. And so, where the trail used to go, on that particular trail they wanted to improve, it got to have a wet area. And Dan Clark had already bypassed it with a narrower thing that winds a little bit, and it was only 50 feet away, but it was a much shorter distance and just required a bunch of 3 to 5 inch rocks to get dumped in there, so we loaded up the DT-15. The mountain bike people have something that holds 400 pounds, but that would have taken them about 20 trips up there, so at any rate.
Is it
Yes.
powered by bicycles?
But it is powered like a.
Let's see, Land Priority Group,
Oh,
we got the pamphlet done, Rick did the majority of that. That went out well. We've got communication with Phillipston and Templeton as part of that. And I already reported at the last meeting that we have representation from the 3 major DCR groups. Forestry, it's James McCarthy,
yes.
Felicia Buckeye as Watershed, and Lonnie
Fourier.
Fourier as Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I just talked to Lonnie a couple days ago. It was when we were up in Wachusett, but she indicated that she's done all her due diligence, and that as part of this outreach project, she's gonna have some targeted outreach to those new homeowners along French Road,
Oh, okay.
where the Canesto Trail passes across,
Oh, good.
Canesto Hill
Canesto.
Oh, neat.
Canesto Hill Trail.
Great.
Where it passes over private
Yeah.
property. So she's gonna be approaching them to see if they can rustle up any interest to acquire that land, or enough of that land for the trail.
So literally acquire it. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, she seemed really good. Her roots were Boston and metropolitan areas, and so she's just getting used to some of the rules.
Yeah, she's new to this area, but very experienced in this world.
Yeah. The pamphlet's done, mailed out. The meeting date for the landowner workshop is November 13th, right here at the senior center. An issue that will link back maybe to this group, trying to get roughly $1,200 raised between the different organizations, so we're gonna see if DCR will contribute a little bit. The mini grant would have covered all of that, but everything Rick has researched it, tried to contact Paul from UMass Extension, et cetera. Mount Grace was linked into that, but apparently that's dried up. But North County's already offered approximately $300 to it, so we may be asking for a contribution from Open Space. We're having another status meeting, probably within a week or so, so we'll have more information on that coming up.
Yeah, Anna was gonna work on another kind of grant somehow that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't sure what it was. But she just sent us that note yesterday.
And the invites in Templeton and Phillipston only went to people along the Burnshire River corridor, because that was where the focus of DCR was. So Hubbardston is the focal point of this in conjunction with North County. But when we had one of our first meetings with the DCR folks, particularly James McCarthy, and Watershed folks, they've got strong interest in properties that are not already DCR owned in that area. So we found out what properties had 25 acres or more along that stretch, and sent invites, and I think it was 15 from Phillipston and maybe 25 in Templeton, something like that.
It was 13 from Templeton and 9 from Phillipston.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. Gates Foundation area, the loam's all spread. Tim bought some, Tim bought 100 pounds of, Tim bought 100 pounds of oat seed. No, not quite that many, but a little heavier than what was necessary. And spread that around, so there is some rain coming up in another week or so, and I've always heard of winter rye as a cover crop, but I looked up, oat is a very good cover crop.
Yeah, it is.
Deep roots and some good benefits to using oats as a cover crop.
Red clover too.
And then I'm gonna keep our next phase. This is a good start on getting all the old foundation stuff out, getting that graded so you can get up close to the foundation. But now that that's done, we ought to think about another step and maybe do that as we approach spring. Doing something so maybe you can get down into the foundation where we work. There was an old stairway going down inside there, so at any rate, so that's more to come at a future date. Anything on OSRP? Still missing a few signatures? Yeah. Mass Trails grant stuff updates, Mark's got something on that, so.
So, Bob knows this story, but
Yep.
for everybody else, you may recall from last meeting, we were trying to get the RFP out to contractors. Well, it kind of dragged on for a while. Nate got distracted by other things and health problems and such. But anyway, he came out with a package last week. And I took a look at it, and I'm concerned about actually receiving any bids. And particularly in time to complete the process by the end of the year. Nate was calling for a mandatory site walk in 10 days.
Oh, jeez.
Right at the contractor's busiest time of year, trying to button things up for the season. And a big part of my perceived problem anyway is that there's a lot of conditions attached to this contract. A lot of insurance requirements, bonding, yada, yada, yada.
Quite a bit of insurance
And
requirements and stuff, yep.
And it's not necessarily anything we have any control over. I mean, if we're going through the town, we gotta conform to town procurement procedures. But coupling that with a really quick turnaround has me really concerned. So what I'm proposing, and I didn't get a chance to get in and talk to Nate this week. I'll see if he's working tomorrow morning, and see if I can catch him. But what I'm proposing is that we stretch out the contracting period longer, so we wouldn't actually award the contract until early next year. And rather than allocating the ARPA funds that we have to have committed by the end of the year to that part of the project, that we would purchase materials in advance in December and expend the ARPA funds that way. And what I was thinking of is that we'd purchase all the required aggregate and just stockpile it at Malone. So I kind of want to see if anybody would have violent objections to that. I mean, it's not ideal or sightly, but we've got plenty of room there right behind the pines on the left side. We could put 2 monster aggregate piles there without any problem. and smother some bittersweet while we were at it.
I was gonna say, do we need to brush cut through there again? I haven't been over there lately.
We would, I mean, I would think about going up and just picking, renting a push brush cutter for a day. I mean, that's a small area,
Yeah.
relatively small area.
Where you wanna dump it, yeah. Do we know enough about the amount of material we're gonna need to do that?
I think we do.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob already calculated it once, and we can talk
Yep.
again about exactly how much we would wanna order in advance. I mean, if we ordered a little extra, we might wind up with a little extra to put down in the soft section of the,
Mhm.
between the pines trail.
Yep.
Will that use up all the ARPA funds, do you think?
Not quite. We would also need to, I mean, part of the ARPA funds are going to the flashing beacons on Williamsville.
Right.
And then part would go to the aggregate, and then I think we would deplete the rest of them with ordering the picnic table and benches.
Yeah.
that were-
Yeah, cause
That's a great
good,
idea.
those good picnic tables and benches cost a few bucks, so. Which I think we ought to invest in those up at the top of the mountain.
But I was kinda I didn't realize that Todd and Tim weren't gonna be here tonight. If anybody's gonna have aesthetic objections to two big old gravel piles,
'cause
it would
they'll both
likely,
go up there
it would likely
alive.
be Todd. Todd and,
What are the chances somebody would
Alice.
get in there? and-
Alice go up there
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
What would be the chances somebody would go up there and snag some of that stuff?
I was thinking about that, but you'd have to bring in a loader and a truck.
Yeah.
Or do it,
Yeah,
back
that
up your
we-
pickup truck to it and shovel it in.
That's a lot of work for
Yeah.
that kind of material.
Well, you
Yeah.
could, in order to get in there, you're gonna have to move some of the boulders, but, and if we move them, we could put them back, since it's gonna be, and that would be no big deal to put them back.
But
Cause
you're
you gotta,
talking
you
about
gotta,
putting it
you gotta
behind
go
pine
in from
trees,
the
right?
left-hand side. Hmm?
Not on the
So there's no
pollinator garden.
yeah, there's no boulders over on that side.
There is,
Oh, yeah.
Is it really?
yeah. We'd also have to trim a couple branches from that. Not the pine, there's a hardwood of some sort there. Oh, probably an oak.
Mhm.
We'd have to trim off a branch so that the big 12-wheelers could back in and dump their load.
How high up is the branch?
Not overly.
Well, we
high.
got a pole saw with electric pole saw with
Oh, do you?
with an extension. We just had to use the extension, I did
Yeah,
the,
works really well.
I would go for that. I
Yeah.
mean, I was
Yeah.
thinking about bringing a stepladder and a chainsaw, but.
Oh, God, that sounds dangerous.
Works good.
It's, OSHA frowns on it.
Yeah.
I could tell you a story about cutting on a stepladder, but
Yeah.
I'll forget.
Save that for another
Not something you wanna
time.
do.
Yeah.
So Mark, this aggregate would then become government furnished material? We'd purchase it, and then the contractor doesn't
would
have
use it.
to
Right.
use it.
It would
So-
come out as
So
what we had.
government furnished
Yeah,
material,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So no markup on that,
Yeah, so we
That's
save,
right.
so we save a little markup as well.
Mhm.
or a lot markup.
Maybe a lot, I don't know if Travis gets a particularly good deal on aggregate prices, he might.
He probably does under
He
some
certainly,
state contract.
he certainly has a contract,
Right.
set up with one of the vendors in the area. I don't know if he goes with Graves or Powell or whoever, but.
Yeah.
No, but if whoever we end up hiring to do the job would certainly put
Yeah,
a significant markup on it.
yeah.
Just did this, it's not government furnished material, but it's owner furnished material for
Yeah.
accessibility at the Petersham Country Store. We bought cedar decking to be able
Oh,
to
yeah.
put a accessible rampway in, and the only way we could do it to get the good deal was to buy it ourselves. And so the land trust has stockpiled it out in Hardwick in the barn, and when we award the main contract, the contractor doesn't buy the cedar decking. It just comes and gets it from us.
Hmm.
So it's the same concept,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
what
yeah.
you did.
So anyway, on the contracting side, what I'm thinking of doing is sending out a sort of a pre-qualification request for expressions of interest. just to give them the outline, and here's, you know, this is the approximate scope, and these are the contract requirements. Let us know if you're interested, and we'll send you the full package, and then giving them
Good idea.
a month and a half to kind of get used to the idea,
Yeah,
prepare something.
Yeah, I sent I think I sent a note. Is there any way to reduce it and to fit in projects less than 50K?
Yeah, I couldn't think of any way to split up the project that way.
Cause there's a big difference in requirements, like I'm doing what we're doing, a $35,000 job in Bolton, and they just wanted to know that we got CGL liability insurance, and that was about it. There was no bond, no nothing.
Yeah, a lot of the, you know, if you're going by the strict requirements of state procurement regs, which obviously Nate is, a bunch of stuff kicks in at 25K.
Oh, to 25K?
The payment bond does.
Oh, cause I did a little, I just looked it up.
OSHA training is required for all contracts.
For all contracts?
Well, all public works
Oh, yeah,
type
but I
construction
mean,
projects.
anything even up to less than
Any
25?
size.
Anything?
size.
You got OSHA training?
Yeah.
So anyway,
All right.
so that's kind of where we stand, but if that sounds agreeable to everybody, hopefully Nate's gonna agree to it.
Is this something we're supposed to vote on, or we just?
I don't think we need to.
No.
Okay.
But no,
I mean, if anybody has objections,
I mean,
speak now.
We're faced with a situation of potentially using the ARPA money, because the likelihood of being able to go through a successful bidding process is slim to none likely within the time frame that we've got. And if we don't do that, then we're gonna lose the ARPA money if we don't use it by the end of the year, right?
We just commit it, right?
It has to be committed.
Yeah.
Not used,
And
Yeah.
so-
committed.
Sounds good.
And, you know, I think it's a plus if we actually spend it.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Removes all
Good.
questions.
That's right, low risk.
Well,
Is there
we-
any
Yeah.
way to use all the ARPA money for the beacons and?
I can't do that
Finagle that?
degree of finagling between the two
You're
grants.
very good at finagling.
I might have been able to if they were both the same grant program, but one's on the federal program and one's on the
Oh,
state.
right, right,
And I
I forgot
don't
about
think
that.
I can mix and match to that extent.
Arose by any other name.
Any other comments on that? So I supported Mark's thoughts on that wholeheartedly. Is anybody?
Yeah, I support buying the material, and therefore not only you committing and obligating the funds, you actually get the material and there's no questions. Regarding splitting up procurements, I don't know state procurement very well, but I'm pretty familiar with on the federal side, and that is not only frowned upon, but it's not allowed if you're trying to get around these procurement requirements.
There's actually-
It's still in the state.
there's that
Oh,
same
the state,
language in the
okay,
state,
all right,
too.
so,
Same with the state.
although it's a good thought, if it can be done and done correctly, but I think we don't need to in this case. So, do we spend time trying to figure out the procurement when really the intent of the procurement is to have it be one contract? Normally, I would have to have written up a justification to have split contracts. And I don't know that we have a good justification in this case.
At any rate, it really doesn't buy us much.
Right, what do we gain?
When's Nate gonna be out for his surgery?
I don't know he knows yet.
He's in the meeting here for a short period of time.
Yeah.
He came out, he hasn't been seen for quite a while unless he snuck back in.
Mm.
And he wasn't in his office when I came in 2 times, so I think he,
I saw him last week when I got I was trying to get the town indicia for bulk mail for the brochures. And he had just gotten out of the hospital, so.
without talking too much about the personal health thing, they wanted his situation to stabilize
Right.
before surgery,
Yeah.
so that's, I think, what he's waiting
I
on.
had to kill the infection.
All right, all set on that?
Yep.
Any updates on the
Oh,
flashing?
well, just one other thing. I did check with, Emerlino at,
Oh, okay.
North County about this idea of stockpiling on site for 9
Oh,
months.
Oh, yeah,
that's-
yeah.
And she's fine with it,
Yeah.
Oh, good, that's a good idea.
You know,
Emily.
I'm sure anything that's gonna facilitate putting in the project that we're doing, they would be totally in favor of.
Does North County hold the CR?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any, update on the flashing beacon project?
No, I did get, I mean, I know they're on it. I got one email saying, hey, this model of, motion detector that you were looking for has been replaced with this new model. Is it okay if we go with that? I said yes, but they haven't contacted me about scheduling yet.
Who's the
I-
they referring to?
It's Central Mass Signal, I think, is the vendor, or it's the contractor. And I kind of thought that they would be scheduling construction by now, but I may be living in a past world, pre-pandemic, you know, when, since supply chain problems have become such an issue, people may not even try and schedule construction until it's sitting on their loading dock.
Just a side note on that, we have, one of the kids that rides in the barn.
Client,
What?
a client.
A client, okay. They live right across the street?
Right across the street, so when you go across the trail, there's a house with rock, they put some big rocks there, and they got some little kids and some gym equipment in the back.
So they're right adjacent to the
They're
rail
right in that
trail.
little house there.
Yeah.
But, they didn't have an issue,
No,
but
no,
they said the neighbor, one, house
down. Was just a
north.
little concerned that the brightness or,
Headed towards Barry,
No, headed
No.
towards Hubbardston.
headed towards,
Well,
No.
Hubbard's
So
headed
on the other
towards the
side of
bend
it.
and where Williamsville cuts up, so headed up towards Templeton.
on the other side of Williamsville, or?
No,
Is
same
there-
side.
Was there another house?
There was a next door neighbor.
yeah, next door neighbor, same house, so it's a
So you
little
got the house
and
right
then
next to
you're
the
going
rail
towards
trail, it's the
Williamsville.
next house.
Okay, there's another one there, okay.
Yeah, so they've just, I'm not sure they're
Is that
really
the one
clear
that
on
just got-
exactly where the posts are gonna be, so they were just, you know,
Is
kinda
that,
questioning
is that the
it.
corner house there?
No, there's one more, I think, to
Yeah,
the corner.
is that the big house that was just sold to somebody, the older house there?
I
No,
should know,
no,
it's
it's
a
a
small house, I think.
Yeah, it's across the street.
At any rate.
Anyway, the beacon on the same side of the road as them, they're on the same side as the little house next to the
Yes,
trail.
yes.
Yeah, okay. So the beacon on that side does not have any lights on the side facing them.
Okay.
It's
Then-
only the beacon on the
Phillipston side?
east side, where the rail trail heads up towards Templeton.
Okay,
Mm.
The beacon on that side has lights facing down the road,
okay.
but not the one on the side of the road where the houses are.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so, but I
Purposely.
think he was concerned that the lights on the on the Phillipston side, which I think that'd be the west side, right? The,
We're
would be
gonna do
flashing at the house,
flashing. At their houses, and not in a, I mean, they have kids, so they're thrilled that there's something going on
A
for
safety
safety.
thing.
And people aren't gonna be pushing those buttons after dark, right, cause there's very few people that are gonna use the rail trail
Good point.
after dark.
Well-
Better paper?
Almost somebody, I mean, there aren't that many people on the rail trail after dark, right?
Well, let's just go with this, is that there's plenty of places where these beacons are installed in well-populated areas. And, I mean, we've got some flashing lights right through the center of town here.
Yeah.
And-
No,
Yeah,
it
but
wasn't,
did
it
they
was
have to
not
get
a, it was
a
just
butters,
a concern, not a,
Have
not
an
an
abutters hearing to
comment.
get any comments on it before that, the ones that
Oh, but it'd be
are
nice to
down?
get an educated
Yeah,
response
yeah.
to it.
That's a good point.
I mean, sometimes that's kind of one of the requirements, and I don't know whether in the middle of town here, they might have had, you know, hey
This
guys,
is
we're gonna
great.
put this in, anybody got any
Hey, now that I was
objections?
Right.
thinking of it, we'll see what
Well,
Matt draws up.
Yeah, he's drawing that, so we could show them.
The lights would be facing towards Templeton, right?
That's
Well,
what-
they
that's what
face
he's drawing
down the
towards.
road,
Yeah, not
In the
toward,
Templeton
Not towards the
direction.
house, yeah.
yeah.
yeah, so,
No, it was a, I mean,
no, it's a good
good
comment,
question,
yeah.
yeah, sort of like, hey,
Mhm.
what's,
Oh, yeah.
what's gonna be flashing and what's it gonna look
I
like?
think it's gonna be a fairly easy answer.
Mark's already
Once the
put a lot of
button's
thought
pushed,
into it.
how long does it flash for, do we know that?
Like
Can't be
20
long.
seconds or something.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe no button is pushed, correct? These can be
Oh,
motion
no,
activated.
no, there are buttons pushed, I think.
No, I know, I
It's
think
e-
you
it's e-
can.
It's either.
It's either, yeah. So,
So this is the little house.
Yeah, that's where the.
This is the
this
house
is the
you're talking about?
concerned
Yeah.
citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I know
this,
exactly.
so this beacon is gonna be pointed at traffic down here.
Okay. Not
It definitely wouldn't be,
necessarily
it definitely
in-
wouldn't be pointed at them, whether they could see
See
it.
the deflection of it?
Yeah, I'm not positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
They-
guessing that it would have to be
And then there's another.
dark to see that.
Then there's another one right here.
Yeah, and that one would not be no problem, cause this is
This-
facing down this
yeah.
way.
That's great, that's helpful.
And then there's a house up here. But there's a whole bunch of
Yeah.
Obstacles there, yeah.
vegetation in there.
Yeah.
The trouble
Can I
is
have
that
this?
curve.
It's
it-
very
Should I
well-
sign it?
Yeah.
And the
It's
only
now public
beacons are, these are the only
document.
two beacons, right? And they're on this
Three.
side of the
Three.
street.
1, 2, 3.
What's it?
There's one right here.
Oh, one right there,
How can you,
okay.
how can you not tell that's a beacon?
Yeah.
Well, that was easier before I drew in the trees.
Yeah.
This is a Jackson Pollock, right?
It's not so much,
No, Picasso.
it depends on how it's oriented. I can see how this one here, because this curve, you know, depending on how that radius goes and where's it start, it could be pointing
Whatever.
But during
that
the,
general
but during
direction.
the, during the daytime, when it is getting used, it's not really like, I don't know, I might
And you
not-
can-
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna bother anybody
you
during
can
the day.
set the
And
sensitivity.
At
Nobody's
night,
on the
it's
trail.
only, the only thing is
Oh,
snowmobiles.
snowmobiles, yeah, that's right.
But snowmobiles are just about wiped out in this area. So I don't think it's gonna be a continuing problem.
Oh, because of no snow?
Yeah.
You said it was both motion and
Yes.
manual activated? Oh, I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, I did
Why
too.
would you push a button if it's already going?
No, what Steph's saying is if it's motion activated, why do you need to push a button?
You know.
What if that-
Oh,
what if
it's
that-
either or, it's not both. You don't
Oh,
have-
which one are we getting? Which one, if it's either or,
I'm saying, if the lights are going based on seeing you approaching,
then you won't.
you don't need to press the button.
Oh, but if you've approached and
Oh,
the 20
okay.
seconds are
So
up.
the-
If you're a pedestrian that came walking up the side of the road and motion
Oh,
detector
okay.
didn't pick you up, I guess you could press the
Okay,
button.
that's what you mean by
Okay,
either
so
or.
for
I
the
thought you
people,
meant like ahead
for
of
the
time,
people,
you decide before you
for
buy
the
it.
traffic coming down the
Buy it.
rail trail is predominantly motion activated. I guess maybe under some strange circumstances it might not, so you could go up and push the button.
Yeah.
If you
So-
paused, for
okay.
example,
Yeah.
and there's a lead
All right.
lag for
All right.
I mean,
setting these things off.
Cindy's planner wanted a button mounted like 8 feet above the ground for
So
a,
she
for a
could
mounted
read it off
rider.
her horse
Yeah.
and not have to get off her horse.
But that was, I don't think there's any way for a horse to approach these things without triggering the motion.
If a horse doesn't trigger it, jeez. You have 4 legs, it's moving.
Did you explain that to her?
Alright, this is great, thanks.
All right, we're done with that. Let's see, that's a little bit out of, the trail loops at Mount Jeff, haven't done anything on that. But other trail needs, then the time to do the beaver dam, if we can get out there this fall, so I just have to see if I can find a little bit of time, is now, there's no water there
Mhm.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
The beavers have have helped us with that, cause about 100 yards, 200 yards, 200 feet, whatever, upstream, they built a dam that goes across, and so most of the water is, stopped. So you can see low spots where to set cages and stuff like that, so,
I was wondering about that, I was wondering why it was so dry. Cool.
It just makes the other color.
Gates Hill Solution, I don't know if anybody's been out there, but there's a bench cut that, where
I did go look.
Tim had walked in and said, geez, this'd be a pretty good place to go it, and there's not nearly as much muck and there isn't. And so we put, there's a structure going across the one spot, and it does drop down. The other spot was more level and muck and stuff like that, just 10 feet to the left. It was more of a drop, so it is a clear span going across there, but we already got that installed. And we got the ramps up to it, installed. I need better securing
Go
for
back
the
out.
fabric.
I was there before you put in the bridge.
What's that?
So I was out there before you put in the bridge, I'll have to
Yep.
go take a look.
So is this
Andy,
the bridge that had the failed timber
Yeah.
in it? Okay. So where you've eliminated a risk?
No, that's Mill
Oh,
Pond.
no.
That's still
Mill
there.
Pond.
Oh, it's still
It's
there,
still a
okay.
risk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same neck of the woods, though.
But the
Gates
nice
Hill
part,
Trail.
Mount Jeff.
actually,
Areas.
a nice part about it is the bench cut. I mean, there was quite a bit of work, because there's probably well over 100 feet of bench cut there, and.
By hand?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. So we acquired a Rogo, and that got put to good use, and.
And Tim and Deb
And a
did a lot
McLeod,
of
that
work.
got put to good use. So actually, it was a modified McLeod by this Trail hardware company that I came across. Good company, but they had some really heavy-duty thing with coarse tongs, and the other end was flat, so you could either use a flat edge or a toothed edge to smooth things out. But,
Hey, Bob, a question, you said the money was approved for this in Mill Pond, the $3,000?
well, that was for both.
Yeah, but who approved it? Does that mean us, or?
Yeah.
So we, cause has it been submitted to?
Susan has got that, and I think, Susan, I think she submitted it to Parks.
She hasn't, they haven't had a meeting for them.
Oh, but she's been following that,
Yes,
so, yeah.
That's why I was asking, cause
Oh,
my understanding
no,
was,
it had only been approved for us to request it.
right,
Okay.
yeah.
But at any rate, so it's been used, in fact, within, I think 20 minutes of doing some little final touches on the bridges, there were 6 kids from our barn, most of them were from our barn, a couple of them were just other, friends like,
You keep kids in your barn?
what?
Yeah, the kids that stay in our barn. They
At
rode
any
their
rate, they came
horses.
right along and said, here, go across, and so they went down there and up the bench cut, and pretty cool. That's it for that. So that's stuff that's in under the old business category. New business, we talked about it briefly, it's not really business, but just a report. Went out to the State Forest Conference in Stockbridge. Well done. The first 3 hours, the first 3 hours were just all presentations by DCR folks and whatnot, town people, how some of the town people were doing, involved with forest protection out there. One thing that the town people reported on was getting funding to protect the trees. I mean, these are substantial trees that they got over there, and they had issues with hemlock woolly adderage, beech leaf, and then the elm. Ash, emerald ash. But the big one that they really wanted protected was the woolly adderage, because some of the hemlocks out there are massive. The ones that get up to be 140 to 160 feet. And so somebody talked about that. There was one good DCR person that was on our walk that I talked to about it. The treatment for this can get expensive, but it was in the range of, I think just for material, initially $350 a tree. And then you have to pay for the application of it, and, so.
The town
and-
voted
and
for
it-
that to be done, cause the trees were so important.
I referenced to her, cause I had attended a Vermont Land Trust meeting where they had picked, and I think I brought this up at a previous meeting, they had picked about 10 locations across the state where there were, I don't know, 15 to 20 healthy ashes that were in 16 to 18 inch diameter range, which are pretty good size ashes. Although, once we were out at this forest conference, we went by some ashes that were just, made these things look like twigs. I didn't realize ashes get that big. They get big. I mean, there were some ash trees there, this big. And we walked right by as part of the route. So that was good. So one person from DCR, and I think I forwarded a list of the attendees.
Nicole was her.
Yeah, her name was Nicole, and so she's associated with the chemical treatment from DCR for this stuff. So she knew all about the different treatments, and there's treatments for the hemlock, and there's different types. There's a root type, and then there's a surface bark type you can put on. And in either case, it's a systemic type thing that brings it up into the tree, so that when the little, particularly woolly adderage, gets up there and starts nibbling on the stuff, it'll take care of it.
Yeah.
And there's the cost was similar for whether it was that, it was a different chemical, but there's, the treatment for the ash is similar, so there's stuff you can put on the bark, and I think there's a root part to it, but. But she also said, Massachusetts doesn't have any program like that, like what is available in Vermont, so it's all up to the town. And that's where I guess the aspect of the town getting involved with the protection of the trees, so the town had to vote to, I don't know, probably expend, I don't know, $30,000, something like that, for the amount of, have to do it, multiple applications. And they are doing multiple trees, so.
And it was a forest stewardship conference, and the state has forest stewardship grant money, so that was sort of brought into play with it as well. That towns can apply for.
I can only imagine that being brought up on a warrant, Hubbardson town meeting.
Well, yeah, the guy from the Conservation Commission talked about that, but he said everybody in the town, cause this particular trail is just amazing.
Well, I think we would get support from it here if we had, I don't know, legacy, or
300-year-old trees.
old forest trees, and quite a few of them. I think you'd get support for it, but I mean, most of our trees are 100 years old and something like that. And so, good conference, well worth it. And if you're ever out in the Stockbridge area, you definitely wanna visit Ice Glen. But maybe not now.
Yeah, definitely don't go now.
You definitely wouldn't want, let's put it this way.
Maybe it's no big deal.
If
Scope
Steph
it, no
wasn't
big
on
deal.
this hike with me, giving me a hand up some of those things. Yeah.
Did you wear your clogs? Your
His Crocs.
No, I didn't
No.
wear my Crocs, no.
Thank goodness.
Annual training, of which I just got, that's going on right now. There was that issue of right of first refusal. Nate contacted me to see if there was any interest from the little consensus of just passing information around. And I shouldn't use the word consensus, but the property has no connectivity. And so it is of marginal to no value for some of our conservation interests. And so Nate just needed some access, cause they were gonna discuss it at a select board meeting.
But however, you should, indicate to him that it would be nice to have more than 5 days' notice when
Okay.
these things come to the town.
Yeah.
Did he get more notice than that, or was it kinda just thrown at
Well,
them?
The date on that letter was like 3 weeks before they
Oh,
sent it to
okay.
us.
It was
That's
the
a good point.
28th of September. I asked that question. What was the date? But besides that, it seems like we have 90 days to act. And that doesn't mean we use all of the 90 days. But if we could have put that on tonight's agenda. And then everything would have been simplified. There's no reason to act quicker than necessary.
What is the, okay, I'm gonna follow up on that if I could, what is the information flow relative to the initiation of a right of first review?
The
What is that information?
the landowner has to notify the town. They have to notify the select board, the Concom,
Assessors?
and the assessors, I think.
Okay, and so, at least at the select board level, so, would that be, cause the first hint of that was, from our COA, which I think Tricia is now, right? Chief Operating Assistant,
Yeah.
Well, her
she's
position
the person.
changed.
Usually council on aging.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what-
CAO, that's what it is.
She's, I mean, amongst other things, I think she's like the executive assistant. Or
She is.
something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, well, in
So we go
the
to
first
her.
time I came across it was just recently, cause in Phillipston, it's the CAO, and that's the way she signs her stuff, and I'm thinking, what is this?
But anyway, yes, select board cable correspondence goes to Tricia.
So the first note
And
was
I've
from-
got to assume that she got it
Yeah, and so I
at
did get it,
least several weeks before,
Okay.
boomeranging it back to us.
All right. And so maybe I'll just make a contact with her and Nate to.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it would be nice to have I thought we had these kind of discussions back when the
Mhm.
whole
We did.
land ranking
Right.
system came
Oh,
into
yeah, no,
being.
yeah, no, we've
Yes.
talked about this before, so.
But maybe there needs to be a written protocol for how the town handles it when they receive these notices.
I'll make a thing and, make that,
Maybe that's
I'll
already
make a
written
note
in
to.
another town, so you don't have to rewrite it.
Yeah.
I concur with that suggestion, because we have a lot of land in chapter,
Yeah.
and it's big bucks, and the owners of the property do want an answer, and they should get one. But on the other hand, we do have a process, and maybe we need to clean it up a little bit. But we need to be able to look, like I was going to look up in the, heritage, the map and the report that they do on every town, and they just call it the Natural Heritage Report. The thing that says, okay, you've
Oh.
got these
This is
species
something.
Oh,
that are
yeah.
on the,
Yep.
you know, I'll say threatened and endangered and
Yeah.
sea concern,
That's
of
on Mass
concern.
Mapper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
GIS.
Yeah, and I didn't do it because I just looked at it and said, well, small parcels right on the road, didn't, you know, it was too short a time to do that, but I think that should be part of our process.
The other advantage in as much time as possible is, let's say we did have a significant property come up, which is gonna take some big bucks. You have to be able to get some understanding of what we gotta do to come up with that financing, whether it be working with a land trust or something like that. And get an answer to them in that 90 days.
That'd be a good discussion to
Have
have,
that
since
in
we
the
have
plan.
communication going with Anna right now anyway.
Well, we had that conversation, we've had that with Anna and
What was the
Sarah.
answer?
that it takes longer than 90 days to put
Okay.
together financing, so, you know,
Well-
any notice we can get, and that was part of what prompted us doing the land, to identify all that land, so
In the first place.
we immediately know, oh yeah, this is a desirable piece of land, or it isn't, and then we can,
Yeah.
Well, I would say that it under quote-unquote normal circumstances, it takes whatever it takes, a long time.
yeah.
If it's, 90 days, 120, 40 days, whatever, it's always gonna be a rush.
Yeah.
You know, no whatever we set. However, there are different ways to achieve the same end. Like, if somebody would buy it and the land trust does this,
Oh, yeah.
and then later on, I mean, they did it in Hardwick with the Hardwick Pond.
We did it for Fieldstone Farm, East Quabbin,
East Quorum Land Trust,
yeah,
yeah?
basically did that.
Okay,
They bought the property, they fronted the money, but it
Right.
was, it was a significant amount.
And then they-
And in the process, they also got DCR involved.
right,
And
right.
DCR made a decision that they would buy part of it, so.
And that was known ahead of time
And bought
before they
the-
bought it.
and bought the CR on the other
Yes.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even that took, even that took months to do. I
Right.
can't remember the exact, it was like
Right.
9 months or so just to get that done. It, couldn't happen in 90 days, so, Cynthia
Well,
did a good job of
A little
negotiating.
side note on that process. I talked to Ann, or I think out of the she was out there, and I think I talked to her out there about this. The land trusts have pretty well-defined business areas, if you would, and Hubbardson is part of North County's region, and I asked, well, East Quabbin is
I think
doing.
officially Mount Grace as well, but I don't think
They don't
they've
have-
never done anything over here.
Yeah, they don't have anything,
Right.
whereas,
Anna said that it was pretty much, Hubbardson was pretty much North
North
County.
County, yeah.
And the only reason that East Quabbin got involved, because they had already been donated Henry's Grove thing or
Right,
something.
yep.
And so this property was adjacent to it, and then that's how they got involved with that one.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they talk
Save- yeah,
amongst
to save
themselves. It's
land.
not
Oh, yeah.
absolutely a bright line, but
Right.
there is an
Yeah.
understanding of who's
Well,
working
I
in one
think-
area.
I was at a meeting with Jassy and was it Ann at the time? Anna and Cynthia, when we were talking about the Fieldstone Farm thing, and they,
worked it out.
it was all a friendly thing, it was
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
no problem.
oh, yeah.
Save the land.
But just a clarification, an educational thing in my head. What about the trustees? I mean, they're all over the state, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
Well, yeah,
obvious.
obviously. In terms of,
In terms of sort of a
they
focal
don't
territory.
really play with others, to my knowledge.
And they're more interested in like super interesting type stuff, just not a chunk of land. You know, look at all of their
Yeah, maybe
things.
they're taking a home with the land or
Where-
waterfront.
Susan and I were
Whatever, I
somewhere,
don't
and
wanna,
was
I don't
amazed
wanna
at Trust
digress
Me.
and take up.
Oh, the one over in Phillipston there. It's a beautiful piece of property, that loop there, I can't remember the name of it, right in the middle of Phillipston, right off the middle of town there. There's some property that trustees
Really?
own.
Well, there were,
There's-
they,
I
It's a
mean, like,
nice loop, but
like
it's-
Audubon plays with all the other players, all
Okay.
the land trusts and all the state agencies. But I can't think of they seem to run their own,
Yeah.
seem to run their own program. I can't think of any
alright, that was just a.
collaborative type thing with them.
And then I had a note on here, did this come from an email from Susan? It was just, that there's, increased, state CPA funding or something
Yes.
this year?
Yeah. Yeah, it's, and the number still hasn't come up yet, but, they had thought it was gonna be a certain amount, and, oh, well, we're gonna have a little more money.
Yeah.
The-
It's
what
not,
that is-
it's not dramatic, but it's
No,
better,
it's-
it's better than they were expecting.
It's, I think, I wanna say it's just a couple percent more. Did it go from 16 to 18% or something like that, the match,
Right.
but, yes.
Oh, I will bring up one more thing under, new business here. When we went to the conference, there were a couple people, and I thought they were handing out some literature associated with the conference. This was not about literature associated with the conference, it's about some activities going on at the state level. I'll just read the first paragraph, but then they provided an attachment to it. Energy sitting legislation with enormous implications for our environment, particularly working lands and forests, is being negotiated behind closed doors by our state legislatures. When you get home, please email State Senator blah, 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 you don't have to read all that stuff, expressing the need for citizens to be able to review and make comments like the ones attached. And then if you read this, this was from the Berkshire Regional, since we were out in that area, this was from the Berkshire Regional Planning Council. And apparently there's a significant initiative in the state to significantly increase the amount of solar electricity that's generated. And they're concerned out there because they're going after parcels that are 125 acres or larger. But they're going after open
Land
areas,
solar,
areas
so
that could be
building solar.
stripped and put in massive solar farms. I'll do a copy and scan, I'll do a scan of this and send this around to folks to see if we wanna just follow suit and send something to our representatives. But the state wants to significantly increase the amount of energy that they're currently getting. In fact, they may have some requirement, but I don't know if anybody else has heard anything about that, but.
No?
Yeah, I haven't been following it closely, but yeah, I have heard of that.
And so the sounds like the state could have funding to buy some significant parcels, and one of the biggest things they put in here, there was
I don't think it's so much of, I mean, from what I understood of it, it's not so much a funding and purchase type thing as just
Allowing.
policy, encouraging or finding ways to get these types of facilities
well,
sited.
apparently one of the things, this is one of the bullets, and I just remembered that, so I'm just finding the wording for that. So one of the things that's being contemplated is removal of Article 97 lands from consideration for, this is what the group wanted. Right now, apparently,
Which group?
the state, the group that's pushing the acquisition and conversion of land for solar panels. And part of what they're considering is removing, using Article 97 lands for that. And what the Berkshire County folks says, take the Article 97 lands as an opportunity. Don't consider those as something that you can use and just strip whatever's on it maybe and put 1 million solar panels on it.
Well, is Article 97, is that the CR, like conservation restriction article?
It's the protection that says that any land that has been acquired for conservation purposes by a municipality or the state is not allowed to be repurposed for commercial or any other purpose other than conservation, except through a 2/3 vote of the legislature.
Okay, so
Whoa,
they're
super
referencing
majority.
that they might vote that,
And what they're saying is that there's a move afoot to possibly relax that level of protection on those conservation lands.
That's where money's talking.
Sounds like we should distribute.
So I'll like I
But
said,
Article 97, I mean, Article 97 was and is applicable to Malone
yeah, that's, yeah,
Uh,
you bringing that up before.
and other types of places like that.
yeah, and that's why you have to be really careful with your CR writing, because once it's in there, it takes a vote of Congress to change it, right?
2/3 vote.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would still be the case. I mean, if the town suddenly decided, hey, we wanna use that Malone property as a transfer station,
Yeah.
it would,
How about an asphalt?
yeah, or an asphalt plant. It would still take a 2/3 vote of the legislature. in order to be able to do that.
To change the CR.
Sounds like that's
The
something that should be distributed to
CR was a
more than
separate
just us.
issue, that
Oh.
had,
Yeah, maybe
that
put
had
it
to
on
do
our
with the
website.
funding
People
mechanism
want
that we
to
used to
see.
purchase Malone.
Okay,
It was under a
Okay.
grant
It is a
program that
meeting.
says, hey, you have to take out a CR on the property.
okay.
I will.
All right,
I'll wait till I get it from them.
that's what's on my list. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, to follow up on that, over in Barry, few weeks ago, they had a panel discussion on these sorts of issues. And the guy from the head forester for Harvard University's research force up there in Petersham came and talked, and he addressed the solar farms directly. And now I can't recall off the top of my head exactly what the point was, but but
Oh, we're
it-
glad you brought it up.
yeah, but if you, but it is an issue, so if you just go on and do a search, you'll probably see something about that.
Do a search on energy siting policy.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts, you'll probably find something.
And the concern was that, are we gonna take down our forests to meet these solar,
Initiatives.
non-fossil fuel goals? And, the answer back was, be careful,
Yeah.
because you could open up a Pandora's box, is, my interpretation of that.
Mhm.
And they also had a guy, he's a weatherman, but that's not what he started out to be, meteorologist. but
Just like in
he-
the '70s, Weatherman?
Yeah,
A meteorologist.
he's from MIT. And then there was another gentleman, and a gal, Ann Goby's climate czar person.
Oh, isn't she from Barry? That one? Maybe not.
No, she's
She
very
might-
local.
She might be.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
she's
I
very
read an
local.
article about her in the
Yeah, she
paper.
couldn't stay long, so she did her talking, was out of there. But just so you know, that did come up, and professionals that are in the business do have some
It's on their
ideas and
radar.
comments. It's on their radar, and it did come up. Thank you.
Any other topics anybody wants to bring up?
Well, just quick heads up again on Malone. We've got a lot of competition for our time this fall in terms of projects that we'd like to get
Mhm.
done. But one of the things I was thinking of with stretching out the contracting process, that if we put off a site walk until early December for the contractors, then we might have time to actually be able to clear the trail corridor
Okay.
before that site walk, which would
Yep.
make it a more valuable walk for contractors looking at it.
Yeah.
This is exactly where the trails go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what
Good
its
idea.
condition's gonna be when we hand it over to you.
So I may put out
Good.
a word in the next couple of weeks and see if we
Good.
can find some time. Not you.
Don't say that yet.
Well, he can get the grit chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, yeah.
All right,
Good idea.
last Thursday of November is the 28th.
It's probably Thanksgiving.
Because that's usually the last Thursday.
Yeah, now that you mention it.
Where's Susan?
That's
We
one of
need
the,
Susan for
that's
this
one of the
stuff.
holidays that is sort of, well, I guess Labor Day or something like that too.
Is there anything that we need to cover
Week after?
before, before
Or week
Thanksgiving?
before?
That needs to be voted on or anything?
What?
Is there anything that we need to be covering before Thanksgiving? I mean, we could always have it hold over till early December too, for that matter.
Combine November and December,
Well,
have a big December.
let's, about one topic that I brought up about potential contributing a few $100s or something to the workshop. That should be something we need to vote on, but we'd have to meet
Yeah.
before the
Before the
13th.
13th.
Yeah, which is,
to be able to take a vote on that.
are you
Yeah.
saying that we're going to do that then, or no? Is that,
We need, I think we still need to get more information from, if Anna's able to latch onto some money, whether DCR wants to throw some in, I think we need to have that conversation.
Well, I guess I could schedule a very short special meeting if that became a topic to see if we can, use some money. I think I'll do that, cause otherwise it's just a meeting only a couple weeks from now.
Yeah, why don't we plan to do something like second week of December or something, keep it out of in between the holiday periods.
Yeah, so we only have one, in that whole
A combined November,
Thanksgiving,
December.
Christmas timeframe,
Right.
we only have one meeting.
Yeah, that's what we did last year, isn't it?
I think so.
Right, how about, the 12th, that's a Thursday in December, how about the 12th of December? The next Thursday is the 19th,
Yeah,
Too
late.
the 12th?
Yeah.
12th sounds
Either
good.
the fifth,
12 days of
either the
Christmas.
fifth or the 12th.
Preference, anybody in 5th or 12th?
I don't know preference.
12th? Once,
12th,
twice, sold, 12th. All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.